Hello, everyone, and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 890, 890, September 7th, 2019, Saturday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, we have some stuff to go through today. Let's see here. Alrighty, doesn't look like we have any new major Spygate news coming out today. Mostly a lot of political stuff today. But before I get into that, just wanted to kind of get caught up on where we are with the IG report. As we know, about 2 weeks ago, we heard that the IG report was finished. Horowitz has passed the report over to Barr, and apparently what's going through the process now, where they go through and find out, things that are classified, names, sources, methods, the routine. All that stuff has to be taken out. Has to go through this review process, and of course, any individuals named in the report that could be targeted for some sort of criminal liability, they're going to have the opportunity to get excerpts from the report, and their attorneys can look at it and they can challenge something in the report, and if it's valid, if they can have some evidence, they can get that. They won't remove it from the IG report, but they'll put like a footnote in at the bottom of the page saying that so-and-so challenges this, and here's the reason why. But it has to be legitimate. So anyway, this is the process that the IG report's going through right now, and the last time we went through this, it took about a month. So we can expect that the IG report is probably within the next 2 weeks, sometime in the next 2 weeks, should be coming out. So, obviously, a lot of people frustrated over the recent IG report that was just focused on Comey himself and the fact that he wasn't indicted or charged or anything like that. Yes, a lot of people upset about that, including me. And, of course, we've heard all the excuses and the reasons why they didn't do that. That's all well and good. It's water under the bridge now. But the topic and the reason I was mentioning this is that it kind of goes back to what we were talking about several months ago, about the fact that there's a huge political component to everything in Washington. Bill Barr has been around Washington a very long time. He's obviously very astute in the ways of politics. And he knows that if he comes out and charges Comey, or if he, launches indictments against the deep state coup plotters, he knows it's going to be completely politicized. He knows that the corporate media controls most of the messaging. So he knows the political headwinds that he will be facing the day that he comes up and drops charges on any of these deep state players. So, as I said back then a couple of months ago when we were talking about this, I think that the reason why Barr continues to almost put Horowitz and the IG sort of front and center, keeps Durham in the background, doesn't really talk about Durham too much unless he's asked. He doesn't talk about his own deal investigating. We know he's been in London. He's been there several times. We know he's actively involved in this investigation as well. He doesn't talk much about it. And whenever he's asked about things, he typically puts the IG Horowitz front and center. And he refers to the Horowitz report. And so, as I was saying about 2 months ago, I really think that Barr, what he's trying to do here is, for political reasons, obviously, he understands the politics of the situation. And I think what he wants to do is he wants it to be Horowitz and the Horowitz report, the IG report, that actually lays out the things that happened, knowing good and well that Horowitz cannot prosecute anybody. He can make referrals, which he has done on McCabe and Comey and others. He can make referrals, but the referrals go to the Attorney General. And that's where Barr can then say, okay, well, here's the IG report. It says all these things, and we all know that Horowitz was appointed by Obama. Horowitz has got the reputation of being, an independent person, not on the left, not on the right. He's got this reputation. So if Barr can get the Horowitz report out, and Horowitz puts all this stuff in the report about the FISA abuse, lying to the FISA court, planting spies in the campaign, various other crimes involved, and all the conspiracy involved, Barr has political cover. He can then say, okay, hey, it's not me, because he knows that the politics of it, and the press and the left wingers and the media and the liberals and the whole nine yards, the Democrats, he knows that they're all going to say, well, Trump's obviously put Barr in, and Barr is he's conducting a witch hunt. It's he's going after Trump's political enemies, his political enemies, whatever. So Barr wants to try to disarm all of these arguments. So that's why he wants it to be Horowitz who comes out with the scathing report that points out all the, at the very least, irregularities, violations of policy, procedure, and even to the extent of crimes. He wants it to be Horowitz who points out all the things and lays out all the things that happened. And he would like the Horowitz obviously will, if he believes there needs to be, he will have criminal referrals there for Barr, which is exactly what Barr is expecting. Now remember, Barr and Horowitz are in communication, and they talk and they're that sort of thing. So it's not like Horowitz doesn't understand what's going on either. He's also been around a very long time. He understands the politics of the situation, and so he understands how his report is going to be used. He's not, he's not a babe in the woods in this thing. He knows that Barr needs his report. So Barr needs Horowitz's report for political cover. Horowitz is well aware of this fact, and of course the two and essentially work together. So I think that this is what we should be focusing on over the next 2 or 3 weeks as we wait for the Horowitz report to come out. And this is probably, I think, what William Barr is waiting on. And I think that this is probably going to be the thing that's going to signal to all of us whether or not they're actually going to hold these people accountable. Because if Horowitz comes out with the damning report, criminal referrals, and then we see no action, then we'll know that they're most likely going to let the deep state players off the hook. They're going to maybe hit them for, say bad things about them in the reports. Oh, they violated rules, they violated policies, procedures, this and that, and to kind of give them a tongue lashing, but not actually go through with indicting them. Now, I will say one thing. Not all of the players in this particular deal are, members of the FBI, the DOJ, or the intelligence community. Some of these people are outside of the U.S. Government. Some of these individuals are private individuals, such as Glenn Simpson and Confusion GPS. And if anybody is going to be made the scapegoat so that they can at least ways prosecute somebody or convict somebody or charge somebody without actually having to get into the deep state players, if they're going to try to do that and they're just looking to serve up some head, then Glenn Simpson, Fusion GPS, is probably the most likely scapegoat, I think, if they're trying to go the scapegoat route. You could even get into Nellie Orr possibly, or Christopher Steele. So I think that if they want a scapegoat, there's a couple different people they could scapegoat to avoid actually going into the deep state. But I think what we'll be looking for is for the Horowitz report to come out. We've already heard it's very damning. We just had 2 reports yesterday from Paul Sperry and Dunleavy, excuse me, saying that they have sources that say that the Horowitz report is going to be very damning for Confusion GPS, but also for Comey. So, and of course McCabe would be in that group. Strzok, Page, McCabe, Comey, in that small group. The whole Comey small group is probably going to be the most focused on. That would include Baker, McCabe, Strzok, Page, Comey, Priestep. I don't know if he was in the small group, but he certainly would have been involved. So probably drags in Sally Yates, Mary Moyer, and a couple of these people, Trish Gallagher, these people. So I think that what we may be looking for is for the Horowitz report to come out. Then obviously you're going to have Horowitz going in front of 2 committees, one in the House, one in the Senate. It looks like it's going to be Graham's committee in the Senate, the Judiciary, and probably the House Judiciary Committee as well. He'll appear there, and then of course I expect that at that point we'll start to see releases. Horowitz and Barr will of course release a lot of the documents that have been requested. There'll probably be quite a bit of redactions there, but they'll be released, and that will be allowed to sort of soak into the public domain for probably a couple of weeks. And I would expect that once that is done, that'll be the time, probably I think maybe 6 to 8 weeks after the report comes out and the hearings have all been had. I think that that's when Barr would most likely come out and tell us about a larger investigation, because the Horowitz report, at some point Barr has to come out and tell us about the investigation. So the Horowitz report, the Horowitz report cannot come out, make all these accusations, criminal referrals, and all these things, and then have Barr just go silent and not respond. He's likely going to have to respond. And so I think he'll let the smoke clear, and then he'll come out, and I think he'll say, well, I've got, Durham, he's been on this investigation, we'll work on this investigation, we are going to, and he'll either say, yes, we're going to take the criminal referrals by the Inspector General, those have been passed on to Department of Justice, to Durham, and we're going to be looking at possible criminal violations, and blah, 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 blah. He'll set the stage for what will ultimately be some criminal prosecutions. Or Barr could come out and he could do a press conference and talk about, Horowitz did this and this and this. He says this and this and this happened. It's all pretty bad. We're referring that over to the FBI and the DOJ, and their internal people are going to have a review and that sort of thing. So when you start hearing words like review and the Office of Accountability and all these sorts of things, if you hear that kind of thing coming out of Barr, you'll know they're probably going to try to sweep this away, and they'll probably maybe go after some people outside, like Confusion GPS, Glenn Simpson, someone like that. So we'll learn a lot about what's going to happen shortly. I believe shortly after the IG report comes out. I think it'll be a couple weeks after that, maybe. I think Barr will have to come out and make a statement on what they're going to do about what they learned from the IG report, and he'll have to basically say, we're going to pursue this with Durham, criminal prosecutions, criminal investigations, or he's going to come out and say, yes, well, we've given this over to the FBI, the DOJ, and they're going to do a review and blah, 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 and in which case we'll probably know that all we're going to get from Durham and Barr is a report. It's going to be forwarded over to the FBI and the DOJ and the Office of Accountability, the same people who recommended McCabe's firing. They will do their thing, in which point you might see some people who are currently working at the FBI, like Bruce Orr at the DOJ. You might see some of these guys at the FBI. You might see these people getting fired, and that could be what ends up happening, is that you see people just getting fired through the process at the FBI and the DOJ. So I think that, but I do believe that after the IG report comes out, shortly thereafter, within a few, probably 6 to 8 weeks, Barr will probably have to come out and give us some idea what direction he's going to go based on what he learned from the IG report. And it will either be, again, handled internally through the FBI and DOJ, which means people getting fired or written up or something, or he's going to go the other way and say that it's in Durham's purview, he's conducting his criminal investigation and blah, 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 in which case we know that there probably will be some sort of indictments coming from Durham. So I think we'll learn a lot after the IG report comes out, and we'll know exactly how Barr is going to play it. But the point of this is the politics of it. I think Barr is very, very careful. He understands the politics of it, and I think what he needs is some cover. And I think IG Horowitz's report gives him the cover he needs. So that way, if he does decide to move forward with prosecutions or what have you, no one can say, well, it was Barr on a witch hunt for Trump. Barr will be able to say, no, actually it was, the Inspector General, and he made the criminal referrals, and he's the one that did all this and provided all this information. We simply turned it over to this prosecutor, Durham. He investigated it and confirmed it all, and found there were violations of the criminal code. So I think that a lot of this that we're seeing right now is political maneuvering, and I think that that's what we're seeing a lot of here. It's the politics playing itself out more than the investigation. The investigation, is going to do what investigations do, but the the politics of it, I think, are what's really where we are right now. We are working through the political part of this thing. But I think, again, after the IG report comes out, I think we'll move beyond that, because that will be the obstacle. Barr will have crossed over that, and then at that point, I think we'll be able to actually get an idea whether or not there's actually going to be people actually being indicted, charged with their crimes, the criminal conspiracy, or whether it's just going to turn into, something internal through the FBI, DOJ, and being, people being fired or written up or whatever. So I think we'll learn a lot here in the next couple weeks, and I think that's what we all ought to be focusing on here. So let's move on with the other news of the day. Well, you can't go a single day without Biden gaffes. So here we have Biden with another gaffe, actually two today, but this one here I'm focusing on is where Biden actually is speaking to a group. He gave 3 speeches yesterday, and he's speaking to one group, and he actually forgets that Obama was the last president. He forgets Obama was the last president. I forgot his name last week. This week he forgets that Obama was the last president. He's talking about how he's the only one who ever beat the NRA. And he's saying that, going through this spiel about how he beat the NRA and how they passed this assault weapons ban, but that then he goes into say, but the last president said, no, I'm not going to reauthorize the assault weapons ban. The last president said, I'm not going to reauthorize the assault weapons ban. Well, he's not talking about Obama. He's talking about Bush. He was talking about W, not Obama. But he says the last president. Well, the last president was Obama, not Bush. So he obviously forgets Obama was the last president, and he actually takes it all the way back. So again, it confuses people. It's like, what did he just say? The last president? Well, that was Obama. You mean Obama wouldn't authorize to reauthorize the assault weapons ban? Is that what he just said? So anyway, it creates confusion. It makes people kind of go, what did he just say? And so again, he's not going to make it. As I've said, Biden's not going to make it. The word is already out to take out Biden. As I said, it would be probably a 4 to 8 week process. That's already began. It began about 2 weeks ago with the New York Times article, right on time, just as I said. Right around the 1st of September is when the Rotten Reverend would give the order. Biden's going to have to sustain about 6 to 8 weeks, probably a couple months of a beatdown. And somewhere probably, I would think somewhere between Halloween and Thanksgiving, somewhere at the end of October, end of November, somewhere in that time period, the Draft Hillary campaign will be in full swing, and that's when they'll actually start writing stories now about why the Rotten Reverend Clinton is the best option. Hold your nose and vote for Hillary. Yeah, we know you don't like her, but she gives us the best chance. That is exactly how they're going to sell it. It will be the Draft Hillary campaign. So let's move on. It looks like, good news here. It looks like Think Progress. Think Progress is out of business. Yep, that is very good news because they are a problem. They put out a lot of fake news. They're a hardcore left-wing progressive site that, quite honestly, they've been losing business. They tried to sell that business, but no buyers. So Think Progress, and this is important because there's a lot of funding goes through Think Progress. A lot of money was being pumped through Think Progress through various left-wing organizations. And so it's good. It's a signal. It's a signal that their money is drying up. It's because they're not getting results. So their money is drying up, and now Think Progress has closed the doors on operations. No buyers. They're out of business. Good news. Another win for us. Another defeat for the demo commies. Further adding to the problems for Crazy Joe Biden is the fact that you have David Axelrod coming out with a tweet. Now, David Axelrod was, of course, Obama's campaign manager, and he's also a pretty good friend of the Clintons over the years. And he sends out this tweet, and he says, "It's one thing to have a well-earned reputation for goofy, harmless gaffes. It's another if you're serially distort your own record. And of course, what he's talking about is Joe Biden distorting his position on the Iraq War. And he now knows it's very unpopular to have voted for the Iraq War. So he's out there on the campaign trail trying to make people believe he didn't support the Iraq War. When in fact, of course, he voted wholeheartedly for the resolution to authorize the use of force, for Bush to authorize the use of force. So now Biden's trying to muddy the water by saying, well, yeah, I was all for the authorization for use of force, but I really didn't think it would actually lead to war. That's total BS. Anybody that remembers that time and goes back to that time, it was already pre-decided we were going to hit Iraq. They've been talking about it for 6 months prior to that. They'd had debates on the House floor and the Senate. It was all over the media. It was out front. I mean, the neocons really were dominating the media back then. And they had neocons writing articles. They were being posted everywhere. All the major news outlets, both print, TV, cable, you name it. They had sold the Iraq War 6 months in advance, before they ever had the vote for the authorization to give Bush the right to launch the war in Iraq. They did the 6 months of prep, which was 6 months of building up the war talk and selling the war. Saddam Hussein's an evil dictator. He's trying to get weapons of mass destruction. The whole 9 yards. This was all out there, and both Biden and the rotten Reverend Clinton wholeheartedly supported and voted for the authorization for the use of force against Iraq, knowing damn good and well that that was the final step that they needed to go ahead and do it. So for Biden to be out there trying to tell people, well, I didn't think that the authorization vote meant that we were going to go to war, he's lying his ass off. And anybody with a lick of sense who remembers that time in history knows that he's lying his ass off. Now, many of these people in New Hampshire, particularly people under 30, probably don't remember. But David Axelrod, Obama's former campaign manager and friend of the Clintons, just reminded everybody. Yeah, so why is Obama's former campaign manager, Axelrod, now this is the second or third time that he's made a derogatory comment about Biden. So he's in the Obama camp. He's also in the Clinton camp in a way. So, who's behind Axelrod, or whether he did this on his own behalf, or whether there's someone who, Dave, you got to go out there and, make the case. So whether he's being prodded to do this or whether he did this on his own or whatever, I don't know. But it's the timing. It's the timing. It's right along with everyone else who's now coming after Biden. The New York Times, the Washington Post, you name it. Everybody's coming after Biden now, saying they just don't think he's going to make it. Something I've been saying for a long time. Following that up, we also have an article by Salon.com where they say Biden looks less electable every day. Biden looks less electable every day. That's Salon.com. Then you have the New York Daily News. They write an article saying bid farewell to Joe Biden. So maybe these are just all, this is totally, organic. And all these Washington Post, New York Times, CNN, various other news organizations, maybe they're all Salon and what's his name? Axelrod. Maybe all these people are just, generically, organically just coming out and saying all these things. Or maybe it's a coordinated effort. And who would be behind it? Well, Biden, I honestly believe that Obama does not want Biden out there. I really believe that. But ultimately, I think the push is coming from the DNC, which is, run by the rotten Reverend Clinton. We know that the DNC really did not want CNN to have that 7-hour climate deal. They also were not supporting dedicating an entire multi-hour show to the LGBT thing, which is coming up here in about a month. DNC was not for either of those things. These are Clinton camp people. So this tells you what's kind of going on here. There's a disconnect. There's definitely a disconnect between the DNC and the left wing of the base. They're not in cahoots. The DNC is in cahoots with the rotten Reverend Clinton and the Obamas and the centrists and the donors and all those people. They're fighting the left. That's what they're doing right now. But they know where the energy is. It's in the left. So they want to drag the left along, and then at the last minute they want to drop someone who's not someone who the left would like, thinking, well, it'll be either the person we drop on them or Trump. They're not going to vote for Trump. That's what they believe. Now, I think a lot of progressives know this. They know they're being played. They're always led to believe they had a shot, like they thought they had a shot in 2016 with Bernie. Now they think they have a shot with Bernie or Warren or one of these other leftists. But they're going to find out that the DNC is never going to let Bernie be the nominee. Unlikely that they'll allow even Warren, because she's as far to the left as Bernie is. Nope, they're holding back. I think that they're holding back. They got a plan, and it's to drop the rotten Reverend Clinton on their base, probably sometime between Halloween and Thanksgiving. That's what I think is going on. Well, we have Manafort's lawyers are now filing a motion in court, arguing that the charges against him should be dismissed because of double jeopardy. And they're talking about the charges in New York. Should be dropped against him. He's had, 16 charge indictment. And, of course, there was double jeopardy issues. I don't remember him raising those issues then, and I always wondered why. I think that there's other issues I would be raising. I don't think double jeopardy would be the way I would go. I mean, with the massive corruption that was involved, with all the people involved in the operation, that's the direction I would be going. But for some reason, they're going with the double jeopardy argument. And I guess, they're lawyers. I guess they know what they're doing. But let's hope that they get some movement there, because Manafort has no doubt been treated very, very unfairly. And I'm very disappointed that AG Barr hasn't corrected that situation as well. As I mentioned to you just a minute ago, CNN is now planning on pandering to the LGBTQ community. They're going to be having another town hall similar to the one they had on climate, which, by the way, tanked in the ratings, didn't even get 1 million views. It came in last place in all the rankings, so nobody really paid attention very much to the climate change, 7-hour climate change fiasco they did. And now they're going to recreate the same thing, only this time with LGBTQ. This is going to happen on October 10th. Excuse me, October 10th Town Hall. It will also probably get less than 1 million views. And if there are any Democrats who are Christian types or religious people, after that little event, they'll probably lose that block of Democrat voters too. Boy, oh boy, if you want to destroy a political party, just watch the Democratic Party and you'll see exactly how that's done. Well, we also have Michael Moore coming out and say that Democrats will stay home if Biden is the candidate. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. The progressives, the hard left wing of the base, will not come out and vote for Biden. They're not going to do that. And that's why one of the many reasons why Biden will lose probably 40 to 45 states if he is the nominee. And I hope he is. I don't really care. It can be Biden, it can be Warren, it can be the Rotten Reverend, any of those. Trump is going to win. The only question is how big will he win against them. And I think he'll win at least 40 states against any of them. If somehow Bernie was to magically be the nominee, he'd beat him. He'd win 47, 48 states. So it's all good news. Well, we have the New York Times Magazine. Writing an article today, or yesterday actually, laying out how the Obama administration spied on the Israeli military using American satellites. I thought we already knew that. He got himself involved in their elections too, by the way. Obama was spying on everybody. He was spying on everybody. Certainly wouldn't surprise me that he was spying on the Israeli military. That should be. And what probably is not being told in this story is, I wouldn't doubt, but the information he was getting about the Israeli military, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if he was passing that information on to Iran. What do you want to bet? If I was a betting man, I'm not a betting man, but if I was, I'd bet $1,000 right now that he was taking the information that he was getting, spying on the Israeli military, and passing it to the Iranians, because that's what the issue was about. Trying to find out what the Israelis may be planning for strikes on Iran or strikes on Iranian interests in the region. Yeah, I mentioned before, there's a couple other people talking about this, what I mentioned before. Of course, yesterday we learned from Paul Sperry that his sources telling him that Horowitz is really focusing a lot on Confusion GPS, Glenn Simpson, because he was a key player. He was kind of like the traffic cop. He was the guy in between the Clinton campaign, Christopher Steele, the State Department, Bruce and Nellie, the FBI. He was kind of like the guy, he was like the turnstile, the guy running the turnstile. He was involved in both the Trump Tower meetings. He had something to be involved in both of those things. So, and as I said earlier, he is probably, I would think that Glenn Simpson would be the person, if I had to guess, I would say the most likely person to face some sort of charges in all this is Glenn Simpson, because he's not a member of the FBI, the DOJ, or he's not an official intelligence. He doesn't work for the CIA. He's a contractor for the CIA, but he doesn't actually work for them. He's not an employee of the CIA. But he is a person who you could take down. He's a person who you could serve up without digging into the deep state. And he's a shady character. And they could throw him under the bus very, very easily. So if I had to pick one person who I think outside the FBI, the DOJ, intelligence community, who I think should probably be the most concerned, it would be Confusion GPS. And of course, as you know, Nunes has just sued Confusion GPS yesterday for close to $10 million. So I would think that Glenn Simpson may find himself being the scapegoat. Now, the thing about that is Simpson knows everything, just about everything. If anybody could unravel the plot, it would be him. So if I were Glenn Simpson, I would be upping my security. I certainly would be upping my security if I were him. Finally, before we close this video out, I don't know how many of you saw the Hillary tweet from yesterday, but she tweeted out a snippet of a promotional video that's going to be released in association with her new book, to promote her new book called Gutsy Women, and it's about, not giving up or what have you, women who fight to the death or whatever. So anyhow, she tweets out this clip, and it's her and Chelsea sitting on the couch having this conversation. And underneath the video, the Right Reverend Clinton says, underneath the video, it says, "What does it mean to be a gutsy woman?" Which she puts a question mark. And then she answers that by saying, it's about never giving up and working to pave the way for the next generation. She's doing a fundraiser this week in D.C., at her mansion in D.C. She just started a new organization. She still has her old organization, Stronger Together, is still there. That was her organization for her campaign in 2016. She never disbanded that. It's still going. She's been continuing to raise money. She continues to give speeches. She continues to appear at functions. She doesn't take herself out of the picture. She never threw herself into the race. She's not competing in the debates. She's not actually doing that, but she still continues to be out there doing speeches, doing appearances, writing books. Whenever she writes a book, that's usually followed by a run for some political office. So she's doing everything that you would do if you were running for president, except for actually say, I'm running for president. But she's never said, I'm not running for president. Or she's never really specifically said she's not going to run in 2020. She has not endorsed anybody. As far as we know, she's not banking anybody's campaign. She's raising lots of money. Whose campaign do you think she's actively working for? I'm thinking her own. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. See you guys. Bye.